car, SUV, or truck, guess what? You're in luck. Frontier Motors is down the street. Got the best deals that can't be beat. Don't overpay, come in today. Doing business the old-fashioned way. Frontier, we got the right price. Frontier, we'll treat you mighty nice. Frontier Motors, low overhead country.
Yes, indeed. I say low overhead country all the time since that's what they're singing about. Low overhead country is Frontier Motors, located at 230 Beverly Parkway. However, the ownership of that company, at least a good portion of it, is right here in our studio here at News Talk 1370 WCOA for this edition of the Talk at 10 show, which is actually the Frontier Motors Show. You got it. You want to get the price of a car, truck, or SUV? Call us. For the next 30 minutes, you will be on the air or have the opportunity to be on the air with Iven Streckel. 478-3116. He is the owner of Frontier Motors. Good morning, Mr. Streckel.
Hey, Don, thanks for the introduction, and we will be videotaping this also. I'm going too fast, Don, already. Slow me down a little bit. We will
impossible.
be videotaping this for our Blab TV customers, so if you're watching this on TV, it's probably not a live show, so we're on satellite and on cable, and of course, like Don said, we are live at 1370 AM Talk Radio. We've been doing this show going on 20 years now. What we talk about is a little bit what's going on in the car business in our area, in Pensacola, also nationwide, and also some of the services that we offer to the people in the Pensacola area when they are ready for a car. And I'm going to rattle off some of those services right now. One of them would be, I think the number one thing that we help people with is appraisals and values of the vehicle that they're either going to purchase or that they're going to trade in / sell, one of those two. So if you've decided you're going to buy a brand spanking new car, one way that I can help you is I have the invoice guides at Frontier Motors. Consumer Reports also has these available in that back of Consumer Reports. They sell invoices. They're about $15 a piece. And what I have at Frontier Motors is a new car cost guides that I subscribe to. And these cost guides come about 6-7 times a year. And the reason they come more than once is because sometimes prices change throughout the year. And sometimes the new models get introduced throughout the year. So this is going to help you, if you know the cost of a car. Of course, it's going to help you make sure that you don't pay too much. And I'll give you an example. I just opened this to Dodge Challenger. It says that an SXT Dodge Challenger has a retail price of $26,995 and has an invoice of $26,336. So there's not a lot of big markup. It kind of helps me a little bit to make sure that you know on that particular car that you're looking at, there's not a huge spread between the retail price of the vehicle and what the dealer has in it. Now, the other thing that I can help you with, of course, if you have a trade-in, you might want to stop at Frontier Motors at 230 Beverly Parkway, spend maybe 15 minutes with us, and let me give you a written appraisal on your car. And a couple of things that I can help you with is, number one, what would we be willing to write you a check for? In other words, what if you just want to liquidate the car and buy whatever you want, but not have the so-called hassle of the trade-in? That's why you stop at Frontier Motors, and we will give you a bid in writing. That means we'll write you a check, cancel the insurance, take your tag off, and away you go. We'll even give you a ride to the new car dealership if you decide to buy a brand new car. The other thing we can help you with also is, what should they give you on a trade-in? And this is sometimes a little bit more complicated because it depends on what they're asking for their vehicle. And I think everybody's been on a new car lot. They have seen some car lots that have what they call addendum stickers on their cars. If you ever seen that, you see the new car Moroni sticker, which is about 1.5 by 1 foot large. It's by legal. You have to have that on every vehicle affixed to the side window of every vehicle. That tells you what the suggested MSRP is of that car. But a lot of times they'll have a little addendum on there, and you've noticed this before. And there's a couple dealers in town that just put an obnoxious dealer markup on the car for whatever reason. And there's some of them that put on an addendum because they've added additional equipment to the car, things like rust proofing, gloss treatment, fabric treatment, leather treatment, pinstriping. Sometimes there's some type of window etching, security systems, wheels and tires, spoilers, all other kinds of things that are put on that vehicle. And the reason they do this is they want to mark the vehicle up so that when you come in, they can give you a higher trade-in value. Obviously, the higher they mark their car up, the more they're going to be able to give you on trade. And that's very, very important because it disorientates you into what are they really giving me for my trade-in. And let's say that I appraised your car at Frontier Motors for $20,000, and you go to the dealership and they say, well, we're going to give you $21,000. Well, that sounds better than 20. I'll take it. But if they've marked their vehicle up $3,000, they should be giving you more than 21. And that's where it gets confusing. And that's where I come in at Frontier Motors, our managers. We've got 5 managers on duty that will take a couple of minutes with you and make sure that what you should be doing is talking about one figure only, and that is the bottom line out the door price. That's the only thing that's important. And let's assume for a minute that you're going to buy a brand new car. Now, at Frontier Motors, our claim to fame is the alternative to new. We don't sell brand new cars. Even though I have cars on the lot, I've got a Mitsubishi Outlander with 8 miles. I have a Mitsubishi Mirage with 12 miles. Matter of fact, I got 3 of them with 12 miles, 14 miles, and 50 miles. We have a Chevy Sonic with 190 miles on it. We have a Highlander with 300 miles on it. We have a Escape with 800 miles. So you can see that we've got vehicles that are like new, but of course, because we're a used car dealer, we have to sell them as new. But let's say that as a used vehicle. But let's say that you are going to buy a brand new car and you want to know what the bottom line is, and you're going to shop at different dealerships. Now, there's only, in Pensacola, there's only single points of every type of franchise. And as an example, there's one Toyota dealership. It's Bob Dyler Toyota. If you go to the Mitsubishi dealership, it's Pete Moore. There's only one of those. If you go to the Volkswagen dealership, it's Pete Moore. There's only one of those. If you go to the Mercedes dealership, it's Centennial. There's only one of those. There's only one franchise that has 2, and that's Pete Moore Chevrolet, and also Pete at Sandy Sansing Chevrolet. That's the only one that's double. So you can shop 2 Chevrolet dealerships in town, but the other ones you've got to go outside of town to do that. But if you can convince them to give you an out-the-door price in writing, it makes it a lot easier to make sure you're getting a good deal. Because if one dealership says, I'll trade you for $12,500 out the door, and the other one is $13,500 out the door, well, it's an easy decision. Now you don't have to worry about markups, rebates, dealer addendums when they jack up the price. It doesn't matter. The dock fees are different from dealership to dealership. All that stuff is immaterial. And the way that we sell cars that are like new at Frontier Motors is by not comparing the list price of the car, but comparing the bottom line. I've had this happen a lot of times where a customer will come in, they'll look at this Mitsubishi Outlander, and it's on the internet for $20,800. It's got 8 miles on it. And you go to the new car dealership and you say, well, a new one's only $1,000 more. But what if my bottom line, after the trade and after the fees, is $3,000 less? And my vehicle has 8 miles on it. Wouldn't that be enough for you to buy one with 8 miles on it versus a brand new one? It would for me. Now, Consumers Reports finally put in writing, and I have this magazine that I bring to the show all the time. And in April's edition, Consumers for the first time put in writing what I've been talking about for 20 years, and that the first year is the biggest depreciation of all. When you buy a brand new car, everybody knows that you lose a ton of money when you drive off the new car lot if you decide to get rid of that car. Obviously, it's like a stock. If a stock goes way down in value, it only goes down in value when you sell it. And your car, even though it goes down in value in the first year, it really only goes down in value if you decide to trade it in, and the dealer tells you what it's worth now. And Consumers Reports finally put a figure to that. They said the average new car sold last year was $34,000, and the average depreciation in the first year was 27%, which equates into a depreciation of $9,180. Now, let's say you bought a brand new car last year and you said, wow, this thing just sucks fuel like crazy. Gas price I noticed this morning driving through Gulf Breeze was $2.41 a gallon. So it's inched up a little bit over last year. It was hovering at $1.99, $2.10. Now it's at $2.40, and who knows if it's going to go to $2.50 or higher. So people are starting to take notice again on fuel and gasoline is going up. So they're saying, well, I want to get a little bit better gas mileage car. I want to go buy me a Toyota Prius. Toyota Prius gets between 50 and 60 miles a gallon, and they're driving a car that gets 20 miles a gallon. So they said, well, I'm going to trade it in. And they paid $34,000 for it, and now it's worth $24,000. And they're saying, what the heck just happened to me? Well, we take advantage of that because I buy those 1-year-old cars. I buy cars that are 6 months old, sometimes 2 months old, sometimes 8 months old. And I have to go all over the southern United States to find these cars. People always ask me, where do you find these cars? Like these Mitsubishis. I found these in Fort Lauderdale. A Mitsubishi dealer went out of business, and the bank repoed all their cars, and took them straight to the auction. And they had them at an open sale. A lot of times you've got to be a Mitsubishi dealer to buy Mitsubishis with 8 and 12 miles on them. Well, this was an open sale, so I was able to compete. There weren't any Mitsubishi dealers there, so I was able to buy these cars for pennies on the dollar. So I can turn them around, I can ship them home, make a profit, and still beat the new car dealership by at least $2,000 to $4,000, depending on what you're looking at. And the same thing with, and I always use the analogy, I've got a 2016 F-Type supercharged Jaguar on the lot that has 2,000 miles on it. It was $93,000 brand new. I'm selling it for $69,000. That's $24,000 depreciation in 1 year. Folks, the car's got 2,000 miles on it. I feel sorry for the person that bought that car brand spanking new. But the depreciation is interesting. The first year is the greatest. You lose 27%. The next year you lose another 10%, another 11% after that. And after year 4, you lose 56% of the value of the car. And I'll give you an example, folks. I've got an Escalade on the lot. If you go to Vince Wibb's and look at a loaded Platinum Escalade, now that's the top of the line. That's the real fancy one. And you'd think that all Escalades are loaded, but there's different levels of loaded. When you get there, you'll find that out. I remember when I got in the car business, power windows and door locks made the car loaded. Times have changed. And air conditioning was a big deal at one time. Being from Wisconsin, when I got in the car business back in the 70s, half the cars sold didn't have air conditioning. So if you had a car with air, now that was considered a loaded car. And then they came out with power windows and door locks. I shouldn't say they came out with them in the 70s, but if they had power windows and door locks on top of that, that made it even more loaded. And then if you had a rear window defroster, holy mackerel, you really had it made. Well, now loaded is more like cross-traffic alert, blind spot, surround cameras, not even just the backup camera down, but you have to have cameras that go all the way around the car.
Not just moon roofs or sunroofs or whatever.
No. Well, the difference now between a moon roof and a pano roof, they call it a panoramic roof. So on one car, the moon roof is standard, but the panoramic roof gives the whole roof an opening to the back seat also.
Wow.
And I have I've got a Discovery on the lot, a Land Rover Discovery. The sunroof is probably 6 feet instead of 2.5 feet. So that's a bigger option. You've got different tire packages. Instead of 20-inch wheels on Escalade, you go to 22 inches on it. So these are things that I'm talking about: upgraded leather, upgraded dashboards, trim, titanium, all these type of upgrades are on there. But I was getting off the track a little bit, and that was that a new Platinum Edition Escalade at Vince Wibb's. And I went and looked at one. This was about this summer. I took my bicycle up there on a Sunday.
Right.
Yeah, they had it on the turntable, and it was $200 shy of $100,000. Don, I've got a Platinum on the lot with 15,000 miles on it for $49,900.
Almost half
price.
Yeah.
Now, it's a 14 model.
Right.
I do have to mention that. This is 17, but it was a late 14. The car is actually only 2 years old. So in 2 years, this Escalade lost 50% off the list price. I'm not saying you had to pay list price. You might have been able to get a couple $1,000 rebate and a $3,000 discount, but let's just use it $100,000, and now it's $50,000. It has 14,000 miles on it. And folks, this is what I'm talking about. If you're thinking about buying a brand new car, why not stop at Frontier Motors? And let's just give you an idea if we can save you a bunch of money. If we can't, I'm the first one to tell you, even for $2,000, I'd probably buy a brand spanking new one. If my car had 10,000 miles on it, and you could buy a new one for $2,000 more, if I was making that decision, I'm talking about spending $30,000 or $40,000. $2,000 is a lot of money, but it's not going to make or break it when you're spending $40,000.
Right.
Now, what if I saved you $5,000 on the bottom line? Let's say mine out the door was $35,000, and the new one was $40,000. A lot of people, if my car had 6,000 miles on it, and it was a 2016 model, non-smoker, clean history report, no accidents, no paint work, and it was the color you liked. And that's what we specialize in. We keep about 150 cars on the lot with less than 20,000 miles on it. Private individual is not charging too much. Don, do we have a call?
We do. We have 2 calls. We have Mike and Mike. Let's take Mike first.
Hey, Mike, thanks for calling the Frontier Motor Show. How can we help you?
Am I the right Mike?
Yes, you are.
Okay. I'm currently driving a 2002 Lexus RX 300 with about 230,000 miles.
Oh my goodness.
So I've well used the car. It's obviously got a little age on it and obvious use on it. I'm looking at moving up to a pickup with a king cab. I've been looking at the Ridgeliner because I like the older body style. The new body style doesn't excite me as much as the old one did.
Right.
But I'm not married to that either. So that's the kind of thing I'm looking at. So I was just trying to get an idea of what this well-used, enjoyed Lexus will do.
Well, you got a great vehicle there, Mike, and I'm a Lexus fan. I whenever I have a Lexus customer that takes delivery, I always try to talk to every customer that comes in if possible and thank them for their business. And I always tell a customer when they buy a Lexus from me, I said, the only bad thing about selling Lexus is I never see the customer again until they buy another one because they hardly ever break down. So I don't get complaints, and unfortunately they're like you where they drive them. And I've had them in trade, Mike, with 300,000 miles on. The book value car is still pretty high for a 2002 with 230,000 miles on. It still has a $6,100 retail value, which I thought was pretty high. I think reality that most dealerships, even in good condition, if you trade it in, they're probably going to appraise it for a couple of $1,000s. This is a vehicle that based on the fact that you know how the maintenance is done, that if you retail the car and you found someone that didn't care about the miles because it was a Lexus, I'm thinking reality is more like around $400 to $4,500 you'd get for it on a retail basis. A dealer isn't going to give you a lot because even the buy here, pay here lots have trouble selling that vehicle, and that's why I think you're doing the right thing by running in that car. And obviously, if you want to make a trade, the best time to trade your Lexus in, Mike, is while it's still running good, because if the tranny or the engine does give out tomorrow morning, you got a worthless vehicle because you're not going to stick $2,500 in that vehicle. So you definitely want to do it while it's still running good. But a dealer is going to look at your vehicle at around $2,000, and if you retail yourself, I'm thinking around $400 to $4,500 what you'll get for it.
Okay, so best idea is really to put my ad in the paper or wherever, and find me a young person that needs a good vehicle and do it that way, and then bring the cash to you. Huh?
Absolutely. And normally I wouldn't tell you that because obviously I always advertise that we want trade-ins. But if yours was a 2000 and let's say it was a 2005 with 150,000 miles on it, I wouldn't give you that same advice. I would tell you I'm into that car because I can retail. But a vehicle with 230,000 miles on it, don't forget, when I sell a car, I want to warranty it. I want to take care of the customer. And as you know, you never know when your car is going to stop. Your car could go another 5 years without an issue. It could stop tomorrow morning. So, I take that in consideration when I sell it to my next customer. Where when you sell it on Craigslist, for example, here's the keys. You're selling it as is. Nobody's going to come back to you if something happens on it. You don't have to worry about your reputation because you're selling a bad vehicle. That might not be bad when you sell it. People never buy a bad vehicle. It turns bad when they get it. So that's why I definitely would say this is a vehicle to sell yourself because you're going to get killed by the dealers if you try to trade it.
All right, let's talk the truck side of the deal. Obviously I'm not like I said, I'm not connected or decided on the Ridgeliner. Quite honestly, I haven't even driven one yet. I've just looked at it on your lot one time about a year ago or so. And any suggestion on which one of the big king cabs? Because what I was looking at is the ability to put an adult in the back seat and not have their knees up under, having to pull the driver all the way to the top or have their knees stuck up under their thing. So which one should I be looking at? Well,
one thing you got to clarify when you take king cab, don't forget a king cab now is an extended cab truck. Now the big, like a F-150 extended cab, you can get people in the back, but that's suicide doors. The crew cab and the Ridgeline, for example, doesn't make a king cab. They're all crew cabs, which means they have regular 4 doors. A Ridgeline is a great truck. It's always been rated number 1 as far as reliability by Consumers Reports, so I like selling Ridgelines, and out of all the trucks, they're normally the best one as far as reliability. Now, the Ridgeline is a medium-sized truck. It's kind of a weird vehicle because it's more like a Dakota. There's not a lot of vehicles in that section other than the new Colorados or the new Canyons. They're about the size of the Ridgeline because it's not a small truck like you'd have on the Tacoma or the Nissan Frontier, but it's not a big truck like the Chevy Silverado and the Sierra and the and the Ford. I like the Ridgelines. They have the highest resale value. So, Mike, the only bad thing about that is you're going to pay up for one. I was bidding on a 14 yesterday at the auction. It had 29,000 miles on it. I bid $28,000, which I thought was a fair wholesale value, thinking I could sell it for 30, and a dealer actually paid 30 for it. So that 14 Ridgeline, that was an RTL, which is the top of the line with navigation, relatively low miles, still under factory warranty, would have retailed for around 32 to 33. So if you want to be in the 20 range or something like that, you're going to have to back that up. But you're on the right track, and the cheapest way to go if you want to save a bunch of money is the Dodge Ram. Because have the worst resale value, but they're a really good truck. They're not a bad truck anymore. So I'm just going to plant the seed on take a look at that, even though it's a full-size truck. And Mike, unfortunately, I've got to go. I've got another caller, and I'd love to sit down with you or have one of my managers at Frontier Motors sit down with you. And because we're an independent dealer, we have every truck lined up. So you can look at the Frontier, you can look at the Ridgeline, the Tacoma, the Tundra, the Sierra. We've got them all.
All right, sir. I'll come see you.
Thanks for calling. Appreciate it. Do we have another caller?
Yeah, let's try another Mike.
Hey, Mike, thanks for hanging out so long. How can we help you?
Hey, Ivan, you've helped me more than I could ever hope for. I bought the 08 Avalon,
okay.
Beautiful Avalon, and you and Todd Gordon, your general manager, of course, Ray Shy, the salesman that sold it to me, were fantastic, and we discovered a little unseen problem with the car, and you took care of it without. And Todd said, "Hey, Mike, you've already paid for the car. We'll take care of it." Wow. And that was it. Boy, oh boy, did I feel good about that. So I could highly recommend anybody to deal with you guys there at Frontier Motors.
Thank you so much, Mike, for contacting the show and calling us and giving me the accolades. That's very nice. I appreciate the call. Thank you so much. I'm glad we could work it out for you.
You bet. Again, thanks again. Bye-bye.
Yeah. And Mike had a situation where he purchased the car, and then we found out it had a little bit of damage on it that we didn't notice it was underneath the car. So we told him, I think he might have thought that he was in for a fight when he brought it up to our attention. Because a lot of times what happens, and you'll notice this now when you rent a car, I don't know if anybody's rented a car lately, but they walk around the car with you, because what happens is when you drive it out, they assume if it gets damaged and you bring it back a day later that you damaged it. Well, and that happens sometimes if you ever take a car into the service department. Has anybody have had that happen where you take your car in for service? It could be a dealership or a service garage, and you drop the key off, and you come back and you got a big old dent in it. And of course, your first thing is to go back and say, "Hey, I got a dent in my car. That dent wasn't there." And of course, they come back and say, "Yes, it was there." And then there's that fight going on. Well, Mike took his car, and I don't think he expected a fight because he came to us originally because of our reputation. And the first thing we did is, Mike, if you can get that taken care of. He got taken care of himself. We just paid the bill for him to make it right, because we felt bad, because we felt like he did that was there before he took delivery. And sometimes you can't see everything. Now, we ask you, when you purchase a car from us, to get the car inspected, which is unusual. And Bobby Likas does a great show in Pensacola, and he gives hats off to Frontier Motors, because we're one of the few dealerships that would recommend having a thorough inspection done at Bobby Likas. He does like 100 and some point inspection. He puts that on the rack, pulls the tires and all that. He does a great inspection, and not just from us. Because don't forget, folks, when we buy a car off the street, for example, let's say I buy one for a private individual, I take all the information down that they give me, and I pass that on to the next buyer. So we are a broker. I've never driven the car. I didn't do the oil change on the car. I didn't put brakes on the car. I didn't do anything to the car. So these are things that you need to do the due diligence about to make sure that you know what you'd have to do to a car when you purchase it, or at least ask those questions. Now, we try to buy as many cars as possible from private individuals. Matter of fact, last week alone, we bought 12 cars from private individuals, of people that just drove up to the dealership, said, "I want to sell my car." The rest of the vehicles I bought at the auction. Now, I do buy cars at the auction, but I only buy the newer cars at the auction that are guaranteed by the auction that I don't get a bad car. On the older cars that are out of warranty, if I buy a car like that at the auction, I'm stuck with it. If I find out the air conditioning doesn't work or the transmission slips in third gear, I'm pretty much done. So I only buy the newer ones that are what they call green light at the auction, which means that they will guarantee them that there's nothing over $500 wrong with that car, or they'll buy the car back from me when I get the car. And I get the 10-day inspection. So car gets to me 3 or 4 days later. I get it inspected. Oh, my God, this and this and this doesn't work. I can just send it back. They even pay the shipping. So I'm guaranteed that I'm okay. And when you're buying a car off of Craigslist, for example, and you buy a car off of Craigslist, once you take that car home, the transmission's out 2 days later, you pretty much have no recourse. So you have to be careful. Don, do we have another call?
This is Bob.
Hey, Bob, thanks for calling the Frontier Motor Show. How can we help you?
Hey, Ivan, I've talked to you before.
Okay.
Honda, 2002, 112, going on 113,000 miles, new tires, no dings, everything works. Silver, leather,
let me ask you.
moonroof,
You said Honda.
V6.
Which Honda is it, Bob?
The Honda Accord,
Okay.
V6.
Got it. And you said you got everything on it, so it's a four-door EX sedan with 120. You said?
No, 115.
No, 112 going on 113.
Okay. That's actually pretty low miles for that year.
I know.
So, and they said it let it, okay, you got a retail of $5,400. Loan value is supposed to be a wholesale of $3,200. So this is a vehicle that in good condition, Bob, if you're going to retail it, you might actually pull more than the book value on it. So I just want you we talk about book values all the time because that's what the banker is going to be able to loan on. The banker is going to say it's worth 54. He don't really know what it's worth. He's booking it out that it's got a book value of financing of $5,400. But I would say that this car might sell for $6,000 in good condition. So don't let the book sway you on this particular car. A dealer is going to pay you somewhere in good condition, somewhere between $3,000 and $3,500.
Yeah, I've got new Michelin tires on it.
Yeah, see, those are things that are going to make a difference.
Miles.
Yeah, those are going to make a difference. And I would say this is a car that I would, be willing to buy from you, but I think because of the age of the car, like I talked to Mike, the last caller, Bob, this is a vehicle that I think you're probably going to do better if you take the time to market it yourself. Now, I buy cars like these from private individuals all the time because a lot of people don't want to mess around with it. So if you come in and I tell you, hey, I'll give you $4,000 and you think you can sell it for $5,000, well, for $1,000, you might be better off just dumping it to me. But if you can put $2,000 more in your pocket, you're better off selling it yourself.
Yeah, one of my questions is to keep comprehensive collision, all that, the loaded insurance on it, whether to just back off and just run liability or.
I'd keep the insurance because they're going to pay you almost $5,800 for this car if it gets totaled. That's still quite a chunk. So yeah, I think the insurance is cheap enough on your car that it would be worth it keeping the insurance. And unfortunately, Bob, I've got to run. I've only got a minute left. So if you have any other questions, please call. You're welcome. Thanks for calling the show. Call the dealership at 436-8080. If we have any other callers, I apologize that we can't get to you. But again, the phone number is on the screen if you're watching this on Blab TV. If not, the dealership's phone number is 436-8080, open until 6 o'clock at night. And folks, again, we are the place to go to that if you need advice on what to pay for a car. We're not here just to sell you a car. Obviously, that's our ultimate goal, but we're never going to pressure you into making a decision. Our salespeople, we have 12 salespeople and 5 managers that are there to help you make sure you get a good deal if you find a car somewhere else. We're never going to tell you not to buy somewhere else. We might tell you, hey, I got a car like this, and this is how much ours is, so you can buy that other car that you found. A lot of times what happens is that the other car might be more than our car. And that's what it's all about, to give you an alternative that we're here to help you. That's Frontier Motors, the home of free advice. Thanks for listening. Have a great day. Auf Wiedersehen.
Don't overpay, come in today. Doing business the old-fashioned way. Frontier, we got the right price. Frontier, we'll treat you mighty nice. Frontier Motors, low overhead country.